Hello, and thank you for subscribing to Audible.com. I'm Sam Katenko, founder of Audible.com, and I will be treated to a free sample of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Enjoy.
Chapter 19. Thomas Robinson reached around, ran his fingers under his left arm, and lifted it. He guided his arm to the Bible, and his rubber-like left hand sought contact with the black binding. As he raised his right hand, the useless one slipped off the Bible and hit the clerk's table. He was trying again when Judge Taylor growled, "That'll do, Tom." Tom took the oath and stepped into the witness chair. Atticus very quickly induced him to tell us. Tom was 25 years of age. He was married with 3 children. He'd been in trouble with the law before. He once received 30 days for disorderly conduct.
It must have been disorderly,
said Atticus.
What did it consist of?
Got in a fight with another man. He tried to cut me.
Did he succeed?
Why, yes, sir. A little. Not enough to hurt. You see,
Tom moved his left shoulder.
Yes,
said Atticus.
You were both convicted?
Yes, sir. I had to serve because I couldn't pay the fine. Other fella did pay his.
Dill leaned across me and asked Jem what Atticus was doing. Jem said Atticus was showing the jury that Tom had nothing to hide.
Were you acquainted with my elevated Yule?
Asked Atticus.
Yes, sir. I had to pass her place going to and from the field every day.
Whose field?
I picks for Mr. Linkdeer's.
Were you picking cotton in November?
No, sir. I works in his yard fall and winter time. I works pretty steady for him all year round. He's got a lot of pecan trees and things.
You say you had to pass the Yule place to get to and from work? Is there any other way to go?
No, sir. None's I know of.
Tom, did she ever speak to you?
Why, yes, sir. I'd tip my hat when I'd go by, and one day she asked me to come inside the fence and bust up a chipper robe for her.
When did she ask you to chop up the chipper robe?
Mr. Finch, it was way last spring. I remember it because it was chopping time, and I had my hoe with me. I said I didn't have nothing but this hoe, but she said she had a hatchet. She gave me the hatchet, and I broke up the chipper robe. She said, "I reckon I'll have to give you a nickel, won't I?" And I said, "No, ma'am, there ain't no charge." Then I went home, Mr. Finch. That was way last spring, way over a year ago.
Did you ever go to the place again?
Yes, sir.
When?
Well, I went lots of times.
Judge Taylor instinctively reached for his gavel, but let his hand fall. The murmur below us died without his help.
Under what circumstances?
Please, sir?
Why'd you go inside the fence lots of times?
Tom Robinson's forehead relaxed.
She'd call me in, sir. Seemed like every time I passed by yonder, she'd have some little something for me to do. Chopping, kindling, toting water for her. She watered them red flowers every day.
Were you paid for your services?
No, sir. Not after she offered me a nickel the first time. I was glad to do it. Mr. Ewell didn't seem to help her none, and neither did the chillin', and I knowed she didn't have no nickels to spare.
Where were the other children?
They was always round, all over the place. They'd watch me work, some of 'em. Some of 'em sat at the window.
Would Miss Myella talk to you?
Yes, sir. She'd talk to me.
As Tom Robinson gave his testimony, it came to me that Myella Ewell must have been the loneliest person in the world. She was even lonelier than Boo Radley, who had not been out of the house in 25 years. When Atticus asked had she any friends, she seemed not to know what he meant. Then she thought he was making fun of her. She was as sad as I thought, as when Jem called a mixed child. White people wouldn't have anything to do with her because she lived among pigs. Negroes wouldn't have anything to do with her because she was white. She couldn't live like Mr. Dolphus Raymond, who preferred the company of Negroes, because she didn't own a riverbank, and she wasn't from a fine old family. Nobody said that's just their way about the Ewells. Maycomb gave them Christmas baskets, welfare money, in the back of its hand. Tom Robinson was probably the only person who'd ever been decent to her, but she said he took advantage of her, and when she stood up and looked at him as if he were dirt beneath her feet. Did you ever? Atticus interrupted my meditations. At any time go to the Ewell property? Did you ever set foot on the Ewell property without an express invitation from one of them?
Why, no, sir, Mr. Finch, I never did. I wouldn't do that, sir.
Atticus sometimes said that one way to tell whether a witness was lying or telling the truth was to listen rather than watch. I applied his test. Tom denied it 3 times in one breath, but quietly with no hint of whine in his voice, and I found myself believing him in spite of his protesting too much. He seemed to be a respectable Negro, and a respectable Negro would never go up into somebody's yard of his own volition. Tom, what happened to you on the evening of November 21st of last year? Below us, spectators drew a collective breath and leaned forward. Behind us, the Negroes did the same. Tom was a black velvet Negro, not shiny, but soft. Black velvet. The whites of his eyes shone his face. When he spoke, we saw flashes of his teeth. If he had been whole, he would have been a fine specimen of a man.
Mr. Finch,
He said.
I was going home as usual that evening, and I passed the Ewell place. Miss Myella were on the porch, like she said she were. It seemed real quiet like, and I didn't know quite why. I was studying why, just passing by when she says for me to come there and help her a minute. Well, I went inside the fence and looked around for some kindling to work on, but I didn't see none, and she says, "Nah, I got something for you to do in the house." The old door's falling off its hinges and fall's coming pretty fast. I said, "You got a screwdriver, Miss Myella?" She said she sure had. Well, I went up the steps, and she motioned me to come inside, and I went in the front room and looked at the door. I said, "Miss Myella, this door look all right." I pulled it back and forth, and those hinges were all right. Then she shut on the door in my face. Mr. Finch, I was wondering why it's so quiet like, and it come to me that there weren't a child in the place. Not a one of them. And I said, "Miss Myella, where the children?"
Tom's black velvet skin had begun to shine, and he ran his hand over his face.
I say, "Where the children?"
He continued.
And she says, well, she was laughing, sort of. She says they all gone to town to get ice creams. She says, took me a slap year to save 'em them nickels, but I done it. They all gone to town.
Tom's discomfort was not from the humidity. "What did you say then, Tom?" asked Atticus.
I said something like, "Why, Miss Myella, that's right smart of you to treat 'em like that." And she said, "You think so?" I don't think she understood what I was thinking. I meant it was smart of her to save like that, and nice of her to treat 'em.
"I understand you, Tom. Go on."
Well, I said I best be going. I couldn't do nothing for her. And she says, "Oh, yes, I could." And I asked her for what. And she says to just step on that chair yonder and get that box down from on top of the chifferobe.
"Not the same chiff road you busted up?" asked Atticus. If you want to see the rest of the hijinks that'll ensue with Tom and the gang, buy the whole audiobook of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee on audible.com. This free presentation of this free audiobook has been brought to you by New York's hottest club.
Where the chillin'?
This club is currently flying over the Central Park Zoo in New York City, powered by 25 hamsters and 35 zebras. Come visit today.